Fellow members, honored guests, fellow citizens, G.K. Chesterton said, I believe getting into hot water. It keeps you clean. I concur. Though choosing a speaker is a momentous event, it need not be a fearful one. Unlike our fellow legislators and the other chamber, whose presiding officer is determined by the people in a statewide election, we have the privilege and responsibility of choosing one of our own members. During the last several weeks, I've enjoyed speaking with all of you about the office of Speaker and how we conduct business in the House. Our democratic republic, our system of civil government is honorable and the best perhaps ever devised. However, as with all human institutions, from time to time, reforms are needed. When an institution becomes encumbered and unnecessarily burdened by practices that hinder its operations. Anytime we find ourselves at odds with the principles of liberty and free government espoused in the preamble of our Texas Constitution, we should pause and reflect how we have allowed our system to be handicapped. As is often the case, it is not so much the system that needs change, it is our own actions. Intimidation, payback, and uneven or outcome-based application of the rules are not demanded by our system and are at odds with free and open government. Should we wait to enact such reforms? Should we wait until the minority has no other option but to protest? I say no. We must enact those reforms when it is most difficult, when we have the power. That is when we must use restraint, doing the right thing in the right way, even when we can get away with doing otherwise. How can we promote liberty and limited government in the state within our districts that we serve if we do not ourselves respect such in this House? Every member has been duly elected by his or her constituency and deserves to be treated with dignity and with respect, and to have the confidence that the promises we have made to one another and the rules will be fulfilled, not merely when it's convenient, but most importantly, when it is not, when our convictions differ. After a divisive and close race for president, Jefferson, in his inaugural address, reminded us that though the will of the majority in all cases is to prevail, that will to be rightful must be reasonable. That the minority possess their equal rights, which equal law must protect, and to violate would be oppression. Proceeding further, to unite the nation, he encouraged comity and warned against political intolerance, saying, "Let us restore to social intercourse that harmony and affection, without which liberty and even life itself are but dreary things. And let us reflect that having banished from our land that religious intolerance which mankind so long bled and suffered, we have yet gained little if we countenance intolerance as despotic." I belong to the majority party, but I may not always. And even so, not all majorities are decided by parties. We also have similar or dissimilar interests by region, by philosophy, and by disagreement over how much to accomplish in our common goals. It is in all our district's best interests and the state's that the majority never undermine the rights of the minority. The majority may prevail in our decision-making process, but the majority is not sovereign. It cannot justly take away the rights of a minority, except by due process and for aggression. Besides being faithful to the rules and respecting the rights of all members, there's been a third theme to my candidacy: ceasing retribution. No member of this body should feel like their decisions are subject to arbitrary retribution from those in leadership. Many have experienced it and have come to expect it, but none should allow it. We must take a stand. That is our duty to our constituents. I sincerely believe that our constituents are best served when I fight for their interests rather than go along to get along. The same may be said for each of you. I promised not to participate in such practices if I were elected. And I invite you to join with me in refusing to stifle respectful, principled representation of members of our diverse districts and constituents. If fear of retribution were not so very real, conscientious support for an alternative source for Speaker would not cause such trepidation. But since it is, and absent certainty in winning this contest, at the request of my colleagues, I withdraw my candidacy. I have sought to point to a better way. Our system does not demand retribution, and I think the best way to deal with it is to refuse to submit to it. Do what's right. Explain why it is right. And to love those who differ with us, even if they do not reciprocate. Finally, I'd like to end with an encouraging note. A number of the reforms that were promoted are being considered by leadership and have been well received by many in this body. I sincerely hope the leadership will prove through their actions that my candidacy was unnecessary. I hope that the 83rd legislature will be honorable, one characterized by fidelity to the principles of liberty, free and open government, protection of minority rights, and where the rules of this House are evenly applied without regard to personality, to seniority, or party, or issue, so that we may serve our constituents and come together to help address the challenges of this great state, which we all love so dearly. Let us strive to unite on higher ground, of doing good unto others, even as we would have them do unto us, for Texas and liberty. Thank you.